What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with the NFL Power Rankings for Week 15. As always, we'll be doing our giveaway at 200 subscribers. As I'm making this, we're 2 away. So make sure you hit that subscribe button to enter our giveaway. All you have to do is just hit it. You're entered for our giveaway, and it's going to be autographed items such as maybe a cleat, jersey, basketball, football, cards, you name it. It might be in there. So just be subscribe to our channel and we'll pick a winner once we get to 200. But we'll jump into the video here as we got Houston Texans coming in last yet again after a almost miraculous upset, probably one of the biggest upsets of the year, but they just couldn't hang on. Offense in the fourth quarter sputtered. The defense gave up the last second touchdown, 40 seconds left to Zeke. But it was a positive note for Chris Moore. Obviously had a great day, but they did lose Dameon Pierce for probably next week against the Chiefs and possibly the week after. So Rex Burkhead is a man to pick up in fantasy if you really need a running back in the playoffs this week. But this team did show a little life, and that's very good. But now you go against the high-flying Chiefs, with Mahomes, and I'm assuming they are going to be double-digit dogs for a second week in a row. 31, the Denver Broncos, and yes, this team is way down here. They spotted the Chiefs 27 in the first, 20, 25 minutes in the game, it felt like. And then they come back and score 21 unanswered. And then, unfortunately, they just couldn't pull off the upset. But this team did have the best offensive showing it has shown, in my opinion, this whole year. They forced Mahomes to throw a pick 3 times. Jerry Jeudy had an excellent game with 3 touchdowns. And Russell Wilson played pretty well, too, but it just wasn't enough against those Chiefs. 30, I have the Bears staying put, coming off their bye to face the best team, record-wise in NFL. But the thing that concerns me this year for the Bears is they're on a 6-game losing streak. Fields has been playing decent at times, but he just needs more help. I think the running game is there, but who is it going to be? Montgomery, Herbert. I mean, they're good backs, but I don't think they're top tier for Fields level. Definitely need some more wide receiver help, and definitely the offensive line needs work too. But if they want to get better, they probably should just start tanking. They're probably going to lose this game to the Eagles to get to 3-11 and find them down here next week. 29, the Colts are also coming off a bye to face the Vikings in Minnesota. This team has struggled a lot as well. Their only win was when Jeff Saturday took over this first week against the Raiders. He wants to be the coach for the rest of the year and possibly next year as well. Matt Ryan, his future is in jeopardy, essentially. Probably going to finish out the year. More than likely retire. But this team is getting linked to Will Levis. Right now, they're 7th pick in the draft, and I don't like that pick. I think they should go Stroud. He's there. But that's, a video and a half away. 28, the Rams are moving up despite Baker Mayfield leading a 13-point comeback in the fourth quarter. Obviously, that throw at the end of the game was an absolute dot right there to Van Jefferson, right in his hands, right over the defender, and showed life that Baker still has that talent in him. Just more or less, he learned the system. Learned the system in 36 hours. Really came in and was the big spark the Rams needed. Obviously, this team needs a miracle to make the playoffs. I don't think that's going to happen. But, you got to like where this team head was at with Baker in the locker room. Let's see if they can do it again Monday night against my Packers. 27, the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson, I think I can speak for a big amount of people here that they're happy that Deshaun Watson is struggling. I guess struggling. He had a decent game, but just wasn't, what we think Watson's going to be, this 350-yard, 4 touchdowns a game guy, like kind of everyone hyped him up. But I think the big story here is moving forward, possibly for next year. Donovan Peoples-Jones has looked like a solid wide receiver too all year alongside Cooper, and it definitely shows when Deshaun Watson took over that Peoples-Jones has been targeted a lot and had 2 really good games with him. So expect Peoples-Jones to really be a name to watch out for these next coming weeks and early next year. 26, Cardinals are dropping down after their loss to Monday Night Football. Kyler Murray obviously is the big story, leaving the game early after the 3rd play with his knee, and it turns out today it was a torn ACL. And obviously, it's devastating to see any player go down, and especially after he signed that huge contract. They have him under control for 2028. Speaking about contracts, you got Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach, under contract through 2027, and that could be in jeopardy maybe at the end of this year or next year if he struggles too, because it just seems like it is not working. This was a project that they thought was for sure going to work. Murray and Kingsbury, they always came in the same time, and it just hasn't worked out yet for him. I know they made the playoffs last year, but they just let down in the playoffs as well. So Colt McCoy is going to be the guy for the next 4 games. 25, the Saints need a miracle to make the playoffs, I guess you could say. I mean, they're only 2 games back in their division, which is very bad. And they're going to have to improve those NFC South numbers. They get the Falcons this week, and that is a must win. If they lose that one, you can write them off essentially in the NFC South. Andy Dalton has been confirmed as quarterback one moving forward, and they just have been so close, but they're just not there. They've lost 5 one-possession games this year. They win 2 of those, they're sitting here 6-7, leading the NFC South. But if they lose this week, they're going to start looking towards next year's draft. 24, I have the Jaguars with a big statement win over the Titans to keep those playoff chances alive in the AFC South. Beating the leader in that division now at 7-6 means they're only 2 games back. They pretty much need a miracle to get in, because I think the Titans will get in and win that division. But it is a good sign. They showed life in this one. Evan Ingram obviously went off there. Trevor Lawrence had his best game to date. Shout out Sal if he's watching this video for dropping him so I can pick him up and start him against him. So thanks for that. But they get the Cowboys this week, and it should be a very good game. 23, the Falcons are coming off a bye, moving up 1. And this team, well, I said against the Saints, it's a must win for them. It's also a must win for the Falcons if they want to stay in that NFC South race. It's going to be a tough game in the Caesars Superdome now, as they call it. Desmond Ridder is going to be the guy making his debut. Maybe he's going to be the spark that this team needs the last 4 games to possibly jolt them into the playoffs. I like it. I think it's a good change of pace because the Saints don't really know how to prep for that. And, you gave him the bye week to prepare for the Saints too as well. So maybe Desmond Ridder is poised for a big game. 22, we have another NFC South team, the Carolina Panthers, getting probably the biggest win of the year, not just for the Panthers, but almost all in the NFL to keep those playoff chances alive. And if I'm going to be honest right now, I'm rooting for the Panthers to win this division just because of all the turmoil they've been through this year, last year, year before. And why not? Why not the Panthers, right? The big thing, their defense held Seattle to 46 rushing yards. And I know they didn't have Walker and half of their running back room, but hey, they still did it. And they put on a clinic as well running the ball. Just Hubbard and Foreman had 35 attempts for 150 yards and a touch. Sam Darnold was a great game manager in this one. Now they get the Steelers at home. Both of those teams need a win, obviously, if they want to have any shot of the playoffs. But the Panthers need it more, and I think they're going to get it, honestly, and possibly even move in to tie for first place in that NFC South. 21, we have those Steelers. Just a tough loss to the Ravens, and this one I think you can actually blame on Trubisky. He had 3 interceptions, and all 3 were in Baltimore's territory. One was a deep shot where, maybe wasn't the best ball, but got picked in the end zone. But I think the interesting stat here for the Steelers, more than likely, they will lose probably one more game. And that's going to be Mike Tomlin's first losing season. Yes, that's crazy. He's been 8-8 multiple times, but now you got 17 games the second year. And it's looking like he is going to do that, lose his first season of losing. 20, we have the Raiders with a tough loss to the Rams. And Devontae Adams was covered by Ramsey essentially the whole game, and it shows here in this one. His stat line shows. Josh Jacobs had a great game. Derek Carr did very well, but it just wasn't enough. They had to settle for field goals instead of touchdowns. And then the Packers, my Packers, are at 19 here, went out, and they probably have a good chance at the playoffs. They need a lot to happen with the Giants and the Commanders and even Seattle. But, it is all possible. Their schedule isn't the best, but it is a little favorable. I think they can beat the Rams here on Monday night and get to 6-8, and then you kind of go from there, see where that plays out. But Aaron Rodgers essentially is going to play this one until he gets eliminated, and it could be within the next few weeks here, and you could see Jordan Love start the next 2 games. 18, the Giants are making a big down, and this one really showed to me that they were frauds. They have 1 win in the last 6 games. And they tied the Commanders at home, and I think they're going to get destroyed by the Commanders, if I'm going to be honest. I think the Commanders are going to come out of that bye week and just look to dominate. But they get that tough schedule, 3 of their 4 on the road. 3 of the 4 are winning record teams, and all of them are the road teams. And they need that win in Indy for sure, but they're going to have to at least win 2 of those games. And I really don't see how that's going to happen. 17, the Bucks are moving down 2 after the awful performance against the 49ers. They just didn't show up in the game of the week, but they do have that 1-game lead in the NFC South on Carolina and Atlanta. And that's going to be the big story moving forward. They got a tough game this week against Cincinnati. If they lose that one, they're at 6-8. And more than likely, the winner of, well, if Atlanta wins, they will be tied with Atlanta. Carolina wins, they'll be tied as well. And it could be a 3-team tie next week for the NFC South. 16, the Detroit Lions are moving up only 1 spot here just because they are not officially in the playoffs yet. A lot still kind of has to happen for them to get in. There are only 1 game back right now, and you got to drink that Kool-Aid. You know, Lions fans, I know you want to hear that. You've won 5 of your last 6, 25 or more points in 5 straight games. Jameson Williams, what a debut, 1 catch, touchdown, and 9 different players caught a pass. And I think that's a stat that you're not going to look at and admire, because Penny Sewell obviously had a catch too. But I like Goff. I think he can be the franchise quarterback. I know a lot of Lions fans coming in this year, we're like, no, I think we need a quarterback next year. Goff, yeah, he's not a top 10 quarterback, but he's not bottom 20. I think he can get you to the promised land. We saw him lead the Rams to a Super Bowl. And maybe this is the team where they get hot, maybe win a game in the playoffs, their 2nd ever playoff win. And even as a Packers fan, obviously I'm from a Packers first, but they don't make it. How can you not root for the Lions this year? Just everything is there to like. 15, you got the Jets, who are playing those Lions at home in a must-win for both of those teams. The Jets, well, this team is hit the struggle bus for sure in their last 6 games. 2-4 in their last 6. Buffalo, they did do a good job holding them, but it just wasn't enough. And Bam Knight had another great game, and he's pretty much solidified himself as running back 1 moving forward. And possibly next year, before Breece Hall gets back, he should be running back 1. So Mike Carter could be on the way out after this year. But Mike White obviously took a beating in this one, left twice, but returned both times. He should be on track to start this week against the Lions. So they're going to play it pretty cautious there. But if you're a Jets fan, make sure you're checking that injury report every single day. 14, the Titans are moving down 3 with that awful loss to the Jaguars. They've lost 3 in a row. And this is a must win for this team, going on the road to beat the Chargers, who are also 7-6 and ahead of them in the power rankings as well. It's going to be one that I think Derrick Henry is going to have a great day to essentially win this game. And Tannehill, he might have to have a repeat performance of what he did last week, because it could be enough to beat those Chargers, but they have a lot better defense than the Jaguars. So that causes a big red flag for me. And I don't like the Titans moving forward. I think they will win the AFC South, but it's going to be an ugly win, and expect them to get to the playoffs. And then who knows, maybe make some noise after last year's, embarrassing loss at home. 13, I have those Chargers moving up 5 spots with a big win on Sunday Night Football over Miami. And they slid into the 7th seed, but now the Patriots beat them or won their game. So they're the 7th seed. So essentially the Chargers are just right there. And it was great to see Keenan Allen and Mike Williams finish a game together for the first time, and that stat line shows over 208 yards and a touchdown for those guys combined. Austin Eckler had a great day. Herbert, 2nd most completions in a game with 39, had an excellent day and only threw 1 touchdown. So this Chargers team can get hot, and I think this is going to be a game where they're going to do it. I am going to go with the Chargers. I think this is not one of my locks of the week, but it's pretty much up there. If this team can stay healthy, Herbert has all his weapons back, and expect him to really take off here in the last run. 12, I have the Patriots moving up as well. They get the Raiders this week, and what should be a good game for them. It should be a ground and pound for both those teams. Bearing Ramondre Stevenson not playing, he hurt his ankle in this one and left the game, but it didn't look like it was too serious because he did return, but he just couldn't go. So I think this one is going to be an injury situation to monitor. Damian Harris didn't play as well either, so they had to rely on Pierre Strong and the other Harris. I can't remember his first name, but they combined for almost 100 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. So they still found a way to get this thing done. And Mac Jones, another great game of game managing. Didn't have to do too much, but he did just enough. 11, the Seahawks are dropping out of the top 10 with an ugly loss to the Panthers. And now this team, well, They're reeling. They need a win this week over the Niners on Thursday Night Football. And if they can't do that, then this team might be slipping out of the playoffs. I thought this team really could do it, but they have lost, I believe, three out of their last four, I think. And Geno Smith has been playing some solid football, but just has been making the mistakes when he does not need to make them. So if they want to win this game this week, they're going to have to rely on the defense stepping up to make some big plays and Geno Smith not having any turnovers. Starting the top 10, I'm moving those Commanders in here strictly because this team is on fire. They only have one loss in the last 8 games, unbeaten in their last 4, and Chase Young is expected to make his debut. And I know you've probably heard me say that 400 times, it feels like, on this, but it is guaranteed that he will be making his debut. So this will be the last time I'm saying that. And Taylor Heinicke looks like the dude. Wentz is activated. He got activated yesterday, but they've already came out and said that he's going to be quarterback too. So Heinicke, it's his job to lose. And if he leads his team to a playoff run, then Wentz might be out of the door. 9, the Dolphins are just moving back 1. Herbert lit them up. The biggest game of the year upcoming for this team, going to Buffalo. And I read something where they had heaters in LA. Yikes. Because if you're going to Buffalo at this time of the year, you're going to need 400 more heaters to stay warm. And I don't like that. Don't like that report. So that gives me the instinct to go, oh, Bills are going to win by a million in this one. And the thing for me for this Dolphins team is I really thought they could be something, but now they are struggling mightily here. Tyreek Hill, his ankle looked like it was bothering him. Tua had a very bad game, 3-11 on 3rd down. So this team is reeling and they need a win quick. And I don't think it'll be this week. 8, the Ravens are moving up here with a really gritty win over the Steelers, and now they go into Cleveland as well this week. Tyler Huntley left with a concussion. He did all right before he left. And then they had Anthony Brown, who's never thrown a pass till this game, come in and manage it and get the win. J.K. Dobbins had a great game, and he just didn't look right, I guess you could say. He looked good, but he did not look like his old self. He probably would have finished that long touchdown run instead of running out of bounds. But you got to like where this Ravens team's going. They're finding ways to win games in not the prettiest of way, but they just need Lamar back ASAP. And if he's healthy before the playoffs and they make the playoffs, then this team could be a dangerous team in the playoffs. 7, the Vikings are moving back after their loss in Detroit to the Lions. I mean, it just shows that this team could be on the fraud spectrum as well, just because they weren't favored in this game. 10-2 going to a 5-7 team, and you're not favored. That's a red flag right there. So, it's concerning. The NFC North is still theirs for the taking. They just have to win one more game and it's theirs. The big storyline from this game, not the loss. I think it's the Justin Jefferson breaking the Vikings record for most receiving yards in a game, 223, had 11 catches, no touchdown. But Justin Jefferson did all he pretty much could in this one, and it still wasn't enough. So they will have to figure out a run game because 22 rushing yards is not enough. 6, the Niners move up 1 after a blowout win over the Bucks. And this defense has asserted themselves as the top defense in the league. And I'm not afraid to say that right now. And it's kind of obvious. They're up there. And I definitely think they're no lower than 3 if you want to make an argument. But their thing moving forward is Deebo Samuel. Obviously, he's out. They expect him to return before the regular season ends, which is a great sign because everyone thought he would be out a while. And Brock Purdy, I mean, what a guy. I mean, he just came in and just absolutely lit up the Bucks. 3 total touchdowns, rushing touchdown, and 2 passing touchdowns. McCaffrey had an excellent game as well. And now they go to Seattle, in Seattle. And if they win that game, then the NFC West is pretty much going to be theirs. So expect these Niners to really lay it all out there in a huge game. The top 5 begins with the Bengals staying put here. They go to Tampa to look for their 6th straight win. And will they have T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd? I think they will. Trey Hendrickson, they didn't put him on the IR with his broken wrist. They're saying he might even play this week against the Bucks. I don't think they need him to play, but it could just be a factor just to have him out there and healthy. Jamar had a great game. Mixon had a good return. Burrow struggled a little bit in the beginning of the game, but really found it in the second half. And this Bengals team looks like they could be on another crash course for a magical Super Bowl run. 4, I have the Cowboys moving back 1. And this is in part to them almost losing to the Texans. And if they would have lost this game, they would probably be moving back a lot more than just 1 spot. And you got to like where they really bucked up at the end to get this win. 98-yard game-winning drive, and they stay in the NFC race because they would have lost this one. It was all but over, essentially. Tony Pollard had his first game in his career with both a receiving and rushing touchdown, which to me was hard to believe because he's so involved in both of those aspects of the game. And Dak Prescott needs to stop throwing the ball away. He has 8 interceptions since his return in week 7, and it's tied for the most in the NFL, which is a stat I bet you a lot of people did not know about. So if you're a Cowboys fan, that is cause for concern right now. You need to have Dak stop making too many mistakes. 3, the Chiefs are moving up with a big win in Denver. Scored 27 straight to start the game, and they gave up 21 straight after. But that wasn't the big storyline here. It was Jerick McKinnon with 134 total yards and 2 touchdowns. He went off, had a great game. Pat Mahomes, obviously another great game, but 3 interceptions. Come on, Pat. What are we doing there? We need to stop throwing the ball away to make it close here for this team. They should go into Houston and absolutely demolish them. But we saw what they did to Dallas last week, so it could be a lot closer than we think. But I got to go with the Chiefs here to roll in this one. 2, the Bills are staying put as well with a win over the Jets. The defense held the Jets in check, and they didn't even have Von Miller. And imagine if they had Von Miller in this one, I think it would have been even worse for the Jets. And now they get the Dolphins in the biggest game of the year for the Bills, essentially to wrap up the division at this point in the season. They would all but, I think, clinch it. I'm not 100% sure if it's an official clinch, but it's pretty much 90% sure if they do that. And Josh Allen played good in this one. Nothing too crazy of stat line. You got to like it because he didn't turn the ball over, and he has struggled with that in recent games. So moving forward, Josh Allen is the only thing I can nitpick at because of his turnovers. And at 1, of course, we got the Eagles staying here for the 8th time this year. And how can you not put them at number 1? They blow out the Giants in New York, clinch a playoff berth, almost win the NFC East. I believe one more win gets it. Held Saquon under 50 total yards. Miles Sanders had a day. Jalen Hurts had a day. And is he the MVP? Obviously, the conversation right now is between Hurts and Mahomes. And if you add up total touchdowns, I believe they're like 1 apart or 2 apart. Turnovers are almost about the same, including fumbles, and rushing yards. Obviously, Hurts has more, but I think it's going to come down to Mahomes has already won one, and they'll probably give it to Hurts just because he's leading this team to essentially almost a 16-1 record. And they should be 13-1 after this week, after they go in to face Justin Fields and the Bears. And this Eagles defense is scary. And, that's not getting talked about enough either. Everyone's talking about Hurts in the offense, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert is expected back as well this week. So give some credit to this Eagles defense for putting them in a position where they are right now. But that's going to be it for the video today. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button to be entered into our giveaway, and come back next week to see where your NFL team ranks. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.